How many people are converting? How many people are subscribing to it? Good morning, everyone. So what we're going to talk about today is looking at building up a social media campaign, or more looking at how you can develop a piece of content that would reach out to lots of people. So the whole idea is to, again, try to reach out as many people as you can. That's the whole idea behind content and social media strategy. So the reach is a very important thing, right? Because as soon as the reach is really good, that means that you have touched so many people's daily lives, whether they're about shopping or food or experience, whatever it is, you are touching them, and that's why that's really important. That's why social media without content is like a car without a fuel, right? Or social media without content is like a fantastic, healthy human body, but is very hungry, right? And it's not really going to get anywhere, right? So that's why you've got to make absolutely sure that you know how and when and what you need to do about building up a content that can go really far, right? Because if you can do that, you can go outside now in the industry and make loads of money. If you can create content that travels far, you can now go and reach out to any company of your choice with a huge following that you've got on social media, and you will get paid for it. And all you have to do is go into any of those social networking channels and find celebrities of your choice. Not like celebrities of movie industry, but like social media celebrities, if you know what I mean, or those popular people on social media, popular profiles. And they get paid loads of money for covering different brands and different products in their own videos. And they haven't even left their home. And they're making you pretty good money. And they're really enjoying it. Now, it might not be something you want to do. It might not be something that interests you. But really exploring the idea of identifying and being good in creating content is going to be really, really good for your future. Because social media without content doesn't work. Right? And that's what lots of brands do. Lots of brand strategy is all about having a fantastic presence in social media, and by that, having profiles that look good. And having profiles that have got very good profile pictures, very good covers in their pages, and very nice links here and there, some keywords, and that's to them is having a fantastic social media presence. But that's not what social media is about. Social media is about both things. It's about having a consistent presence across different channels, but then having content, right, that helps people to solve problems that they have, or educates people, or entertains people, right? And we'll look at some of the case studies later on in this session, but it's really important that you understand that. And again, all that following that you get, all that success that you get, is achieved by having content that people find useful. Everyone in the world today needs information to, run their daily lives. Sometimes they need information on how to fix their cars. They need information on how to change oil or change a tire, whatever it is, right? So they need so many things. And if we are there as a brand or as a company to serve that need, we've got something pretty exciting. So that's when the huge following comes in. That's when you start to realize how come a personal individual, a personal guy, or someone anywhere in the world has got hundreds of millions of followers on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and whereas the biggest brand in the world maybe has got 5 million. And you just say, really, how do you do that? How can you compete with a global brand and you're just a guy somewhere living and loving social and then pushing our content? And you can see that, and the reason for it is mainly because that individual has picked up something they're really passionate about, and they picked up a crowd that finds that content useful, or using that content to get something done in their lives, right? So it's quite an important thing to compare and look into. And that's what brands are now looking forward. Brands now are looking forward to hire people that can help them to reach out to as many audiences as possible. And so, if you have proved yourself that you can reach out to hundreds of thousands of people through your own personal profile, you can go to those large companies and say to them something like this: I have got hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter, and this is how many I've got likes on Facebook and YouTube and so on. I can help you do exactly that thing. Now, there'll be slight differences how you behave and what you do, whether it's your personal or company brand, but I think there's not a huge difference, and so you can actually get a job just because of that. Because now companies are hunting for people who can actually help them to reach out to many audiences as possible. Because, again, they want to be able to promote their products and services. So imagine a company that's got hundreds of thousands of followers, right, on Twitter or Instagram, whatever it is. Every time they push out content, not maybe all of those guys following, but huge amount of them will have seen that ad, will have seen that product, will have seen that thing, right? But imagine if that audience is very engaging, which means that they are finding useful everything the company publishes. They'll probably, if they need that product, they'll probably go ahead and buy it, because they already trust the company. They trust what the company is about. So again, to be able to build that trust, what we need to do, we need to be out there communicating, engaging, and having content that people find useful. And that's what we're trying to attempt to get you to do with your second piece of coursework, which is the idea of building something that can help you to reach out as many people as possible in the world. Right? And hopefully you'll do a very good job with it, because it will be probably the most creative piece of work you've ever done. However you want to see it, is a piece of work that gels together your research, your own interests, your own companies, your favorite brands, and your most interested sort of industry. So it's all about stuff that you really like. And so that's why in most cases, students do pretty well with the second piece of coursework. In fact, students do the best performing piece of coursework is always the second one. And it's really, even for us, it's a joy to mark some of that work. Because some groups and some students do fantastic pieces of work. They go outside the box, they create amazing things, and you just think, wow, that's what we want. Because we know that when you go out in the industry, it'll be a lot easier for you to reach out to those employers and say to them, look, I've been doing this stuff. I can do exactly the same thing to your brand, for your brand. I can replicate exactly the same thing. And they can't push you back by telling you, you don't have experience that we need, and therefore for that reason we can't give you the job. So nowadays, don't forget, you can get experience from wherever you are. From the comfort of your home, at any time that you want. So you've got no reason to go outside and say, I wish I could do this, but I just don't have experience. The company won't accept me. That individual won't work with me, right? The other guy won't be my partner, my business partner, right? Because I just don't have that experience. So now you can get the experience anytime you want. So, how about the viral piece of content? Well, obviously you need two things. You normally need a company of your choice, or you can also build up a piece of content that promotes your own skill. And that's fine, right? So you can actually pick up something that you want. If you've been building up a social media presence around a specific set of skills or expertise that you want to be owning yourself, you can actually do that around your own personal profile as well, okay? But in general, most of you will go ahead with different companies. So you'll need a company and normally a product that you want to promote, or an idea, or a service that you want to promote. And you need those two things. When it comes to virality, now, 99% of your work won't go viral. That's just the way it is, okay? Virality is a very small percentage of work that goes viral. I hope some more of your work will go viral, you never know. But virality is a very difficult thing. But what we're aiming for is to create a piece of content that is very creative, very informing, engaging and entertaining as well. Right? That gives a clear message about the product or the company that you're about to promote. And normally when it comes to the content, virality really doesn't come in long sort of duration videos. It's very much a short content. Sometimes up to a minute, sometimes more than that. But in general, as short as the videos are, in terms of length, they can go viral quite a lot more. That's what the research is telling us. Now, how do we do that? Well, the first thing, we choose a company or a product. So, to be able to work on that piece of content, we need to have a few things, right? We need to know how to get started. And this is how you can do it. First, you choose a company or a product. You need to be very, very careful with this, because you've got to choose something that you really like. If you choose something just because it's cool, you're not going to get anywhere, because your brain won't be thinking outside the box. Because the reason for it is because it's not enjoying it. For your brain to be creating something amazing, your brain's got to enjoy it. If you enjoy so much, there'll be so many ideas that come along. Have you noticed when you meet up with your group members on projects or research that you're doing, and there's several of those guys absolutely saying nothing? Well, there can be two reasons for that. One is probably because they haven't done any work, which is what is the case most times. But it can also be because they're not enjoying it. So you picked up a company, you picked up something to research about, and that's not their interest. They don't want to do it. So you're not going to be getting anything from them. Right? And that's why you need something, you need a common interest. Same with a company. Why does a company succeed? It's because you've got a group of people that get together around the same common interest that they've got to grow the company using that specific product or feature. So everyone gets united. And you've got to do exactly the same thing. Why did Apple do so well? It's because they were super united in what they wanted to do. With the iPod, iPhone, Macs, iPads, everything. They were so united that it reflects very clearly on the company. I mean, whoever you talk to, depending on the personality that they've got at Apple, they will very much tell you exactly the same thing. They speak the same language, if you will. Right? About how amazing their products are, about how exciting it is, about how fantastic it is to work with Apple, about these amazing new products coming along. But very much it's the same culture, it's the same language. Because they are so much united. So that's why you need a common interest. And whether it's your own research or outside in the industry. The next one is what to do. Well, you've got to organize these brainstorming sessions, right? You've got to get together. This is the time when you are expected not just to meet up with each other, but actually get started with thinking, where no idea is a bad idea, right? And you do not ignore anyone. You've got to make sure that everyone in the team feels part of the team. Because if they don't, you are missing out. They are missing out as members, but you are missing out as a team leader as well. Because they're not part of the team, they're not saying anything. You've got to make sure that everyone contributes. In order for every member to contribute, they've got to like the idea that you're working on, and they've got to like to work with you in the first place. But please note, in this chance, you can pick up who you want to work with, But in the industry, you have got no chance to do that. You will end up working with people that probably you really don't like them. And that will happen. But you need to be able to work around it before you lose your job. Right? Because you'll have to work with people that you probably wouldn't want to see them after you finish work. But you need to find the best in people. And you need to find ways to work with people. And of course, ultimately, never ever make enemies. Right? It's not a good idea. The next one, after you've organized those brainstorming sessions, you've came up with ideas, and you came up with a plan and some strict deadlines with the overall deadline for the coursework. You then move on to the next thing, which is about creating that piece of work. The organizing and brainstorming session will clearly highlight individual tasks for every team member. That means that everyone is required to do something. And don't cover anyone's back just because they are your friend. Because you're really not doing them a favor. In fact, if you're a true friend, you should never cover them when it comes to this. Right? So you've got to be absolutely clear that everyone does what they're supposed to do. If they're not doing it, that means that you're failing as a leader, but also you are doing them a disfavor. You're not doing them a favor. Because yeah, they'll be getting the same grade as you are, but they won't be prepared for the industry and for the real world out there. And when they're out there struggling, they will be blaming you, and you will not be their friend. Right? So keep that in mind, because it tends to happen that sometimes members of the group are hidden behind the scene because their best friends are covering for them and they're doing everything. Once you've set the task for every individual in the team, the plan is to go out, do the work, pick up that research, get together and get to create the content, and then meet up for the editing. Right? And when you start editing the work and putting everything together, that's when you start to identify those who have not really done their part in the work. And they've got to be absolutely sure they do their part. Otherwise, you will be struggling with your work. Once that has been done, you've got the content, you start editing, you start putting everything together, and then you start experimenting with it and the ideas of how you want to sort of finalize this piece of work. Again, think outside the box and really do not sort of like limit yourself in the things that you want to do. Because the whole idea with this piece of work is to try and create something that is either going to educate someone that views you that content, is going to entertain someone, or is going to excite someone, and we'll look at it in a minute. Once we have been experimenting with it and publishing the work, which can be before the deadline, if you're done with work, that's not a problem. And then you start to monitor and engage with that piece of content that you published. Which means that your job, in a way, is not done once you publish the work. It is done as far as the coursework is regarded, but it's not done in terms of social media thing. Because people will be engaging with your content, you've got to be out there. And if you're not going to be out there engaging with people, that means you're missing the opportunity to connect with people. Right? And then ask them to share your work because they liked it. So if you are out there engaging with people who like your content, they will do the same thing. They will share that piece of content with everybody else. It's worthwhile doing it. So as far as the sort of coursework is concerned, it can be done there, but I think you need to make sure that you push forward your approach to social media engagement. So, how do you measure things? Well, we talked about social media metrics, but these are some of the metrics you can look into to be able to monitor how well you're doing with the actual content, okay, that you're publishing out there. Now, when it comes to metrics, there are several. These are just some of the ones that I've listed out there. There's the influence, keyword analysis, retweets, followers, pins, hashtags, spends, click-throughs, mobile apps, schedule features, social networks as well. And there are different social media monitoring tools out there, from Hootsuite, Sprout Social, SocialLink, Topsy, Refollow, and a lot more, that look at some of these metrics. So you can pick up the social networking monitoring tool that you find useful for your case. Most importantly, you'll have to make sure that you pick up that social media monitoring tools that gives you the best insights you need for your own work. And that can be for your first piece of research and for your second one as well. Because remember, what you really need for both research projects is to make sure that you have as much info, as much data as possible. Right? And some of these tools will help you do just that. But of course, there are hundreds of thousands of tools out there. You need to pick up the ones that suit your own project. So that's why your research comes handy. We represent so many tools and we tweet about those tools all the time, but ultimately not all of those tools will be useful to you. So you will pick up the ones that are the most suitable for your own content. So, your assignment 2, your second piece of research. Well, you need to be able to get a very clear understanding as to what are we asking you to do, right? What is exactly we asking you to do? We are asking you to create a viral, to make an attempt to create a viral piece of content that will either educate or entertain people out there around the product or services you're trying to promote. So, you've defined that. Good. Next one. Where is that you're going to publish that piece of content, right? And of course, where are you going to try and make a difference? Third, why are you doing it? What's the reason for it? So you need to really justify that to yourself, but of course, in the piece of brief that you will be submitting with your own second assignment, you can write in there as well the reason why you decided to do what you've done, right? Fourth one, when you plan to do it. When is the time that you plan to push out content, but also when is the time that you're planning to sort of reach out to these individuals online. And then the last one is how are you going to do that? What is exactly part of your strategy to try and reach out to as many people as possible? Remember, creating the content is just one first thing. It's just the beginning of the journey. Right? Because the content is not going to travel for you. You've got to do a bit of work. Which means that you've got to go out there and tell the people that you've done something. Right? Now, virality travels very, very fast. But for that virality to kick in, you've got to do a bit of legwork. Right? And so, to be able to do that legwork, you need to know how you're going to do that, who you're going to contact. So you need to start with your network, you need to start with your friends, you need to tell them that you've done something pretty cool. Sometimes, when students do their second assignments, their second coursework, they tend to tweet me about their product or about the video that they've created, and then ask me to share it. So then they can reach out to more people. Right? Or they ask Steve, right? And we do it from time to time. We don't do it all the time, right? But we do it from time to time. And you need to do that exactly the same thing to disseminate information across different social networks. Because you want to reach out to as many people as possible. Because at some point, some of those users are going to say, that's exciting. I really like this video. I'm going to share it. Because the next thing you do, when you love something, you're going to share it. Sometimes, even if you do not find that share button somewhere where you can click, you will copy the link and then share it with your friends over the email or over messages or whatever it is. You will share because you want to entertain or inform your friends. And most importantly, you feel more powerful because you've got some information that your friends don't have. So what we said, information is the currency of digital economy. So if you've got information, you've got something pretty exciting. And when you have that information, you want to share that with those people of your interest so that they can see that. So, going viral. We talked about this earlier. Virality is a very, very small percentage of work that goes viral. Very, very tiny percentage of work that goes viral. But we need to make an attempt. Now, we need to make an attempt to create something that is remarkable. So the benefits of trying to aim for virality is that you will be working really hard to create something remarkable. So that's why we're giving you this task, because we know virality is going to be really hard to achieve. But we know that if we're aiming really high for virality, ultimately your work will be really good. And then you'll probably get first. So, what does the content need to sound like? And what are the things that you need to, what are those themes that the content needs to follow to be able to travel far? Well, first, one of those things that the content can be aiming at is to be a passionate piece of content, where the passion comes along in that piece of content you're publishing. The content gets, well, it's like an alarming thing, you know, gets people to feel alarmed about something. And the next thing you're going to do, they're going to share it. The one thing that is quite important is that it gives people a bit of trust. Once they've viewed that video, once they've viewed that thing, right, it's going to help them to build trust with you. In the business world, trust means a lot. Because if you've got people that trust your word, trust what you do, you have got a business. Right? So it's a very important one. The next one is the prestige. Sometimes the video conveys prestige and good feeling about things. Sometimes rebellion, sometimes very different, right? Very, very different. And you tend to see that quite a lot. Mystique of something that makes you think about things, right? Makes you wonder. And then the power. The content that shows that there is something really exciting in there, but most importantly, something that has got some remarkable piece of content that delivers power. So, what do you need to do? Well, you need to start planning. You need to start planning about exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. The next one, you need to try and do a bit of research and understand who your audience is. Can you tell who are those people that you're trying to reach out with that piece of content? Who are those people that ultimately are going to view and click and engage with that content? Now that's not an easy thing. And that's why you need to go out and do the research around the content you want to create. And then see what are those communities out there that engage with the community, with the content like yours that you're about to create. Once you've done that, you will then have a better idea as to what is that those communities are looking for. Is it more like an educational type of content that can go viral? Or is it more like a information-based type of content that can go viral? Or is it a piece of content that is got to be entertaining to fly? Otherwise you won't do it. After that, you will need to get a really good understanding about the audience and activities on YouTube. So you need to identify those communities and what they do and what is the content they consume on YouTube. What are those things that are very popular? Okay? Is it about, again, educational type of content or entertaining type of content? In addition to that, you start to define then what are those types of messages that you want to convey. And this is all done with your group work. This is when you get together and you decide what is that content and what type of message that content is going to send out when the work is done and published. After that, you will make sure that those messages are backed up by research that you are doing individually to make sure that the content that is being produced and pushed out there is going to be a relevant one. Because ultimately, what people will end up seeing is that 1-2 minute video, and that's it. They won't see what's happening behind the scene. But the work behind the scene needs to reflect that ultimate bit, the cream de la cream. Right? And so you've got to make sure you do that. You will then need to establish types of interest that your message will trigger. What is the message that your message, the message that feeling that the message is going to trigger to your audience? Because that is going to tell you, is it going to be more like a mystique type of content? Is it going to be a type of content that is going to alarm people? Or the content that is going to give people some power? Right? And then you will start making that content. You start to record some videos, get some content out, plan some research, do a bit of brainstorming, and then making sure that you put that content together. And then ultimately, you need to make sure that your content really is valid. And you do that by talking to your friends, talking to the people that have seen the content before it goes live. So you're doing a bit of piloting, if you will. Then after that, once the content is out there, you'll start measuring the outcome using social media monitoring tools. So again, once you've done the work and you've published it, it's out there, don't feel like the job is done. Try to keep up with it. And keep an eye on how well the content and engagement is going out there. Because that's going to ultimately give you the full package you need for the industry. We won't be assessing that bit, but again, it's going to give you something that you will need because your future boss is going to want to know what happens if that content goes viral. What happens if that piece becomes very popular? What's going to happen with it? Is there some return or is there some brand awareness, something that the content is driving? Okay? And what are they going to see in terms of values? Now, another important thing to do is that you need to try and get to learn more about what others have done to get your thinking going. Right? You need to find the content that has traveled really far in terms of virality. Examine what type of messages they sent out. Right? And of course, ultimately, how good the content was. And there are some billions of videos out there, right? But I picked up some of those that we really like ourselves, that we can show them to you, okay? So, why did that video do so well? Certainly, was a brilliant idea. Yep. Absolutely, yeah, of course, it has celebrity driving it, so that makes a big difference. But not only that, you had the idea, brilliant idea, right? Also, brilliant product that they want to push out there. Very simply done, but ultimately the content, including the audio, including the video, including the surroundings and everything else, was just spot on. Now, we won't have the budget to do things like this. It's just not going to happen, right? But that doesn't stop you from examining why some of these videos done so well. So, breaking to pieces these videos, try to examine them and analyze them. How and why do you think they've done so well? Because that's going to give you ideas about things you can do yourself. Right? Because that's going to give you some ideas as to what you need to be focusing the most and why. Now, I think we've got, of course, this piece of content that went super remarkably viral conveys trust. So if you buy Volvo trucks, you've got the best dynamic steering wheel possible. And again, that's the message they want to send across. We don't know as to how well this has done in terms of business. How much business did it bring to Volvo? We don't know that, right? But they claim that it's really helped them with this new innovative dynamic steering that they've got in their new trucks. So again, it's just a nice way, very and again, it's the content that can be engaged and enjoyed by everyone in the family, right? So again, it's not harming anyone, it's not really making anyone feel bad. It's a very nice piece of content that can be viewed and shared by everyone. Now, another really super successful viral piece of content is the video from William Blend. The Blendtec technology that provides, that builds up blenders, right? And again, this is done by the CEO of the company, who took on board the idea of taking all this huge responsibility to market a product himself. So he said, what's the best way for me to promote our amazing blender that we have in Blendtec? Bless you. And he said, how about identifying some of those most popular products, tech products in the world today, and then blending them up in our blender? Wouldn't that be cool? And that'll cost pretty much nothing. It'll cost the price of a gadget that you're going to blend, but nothing else. And the success was extraordinary. And I definitely have got to show you one of the videos. I think the latest one was the Apple Watch. I think we'll do Apple Watch. So again, it's released out just about a minute and a half, and ultimately it was published less than 10 months. Now, how much budget would they need to reach out to this many people? I mean, huge budget. Think about TV advertising, how expensive that is for them to reach out to this many people. Now, that is a super clever thing to do. And again, obviously, if you wonder how much did that piece of content cost, it's quite easy to working out. It's probably a team of people who looked into the video editing. That Apple Watch that cost whatever, £300-400 or something like that. And that was pretty much it. Right? And what's a better way of informing the audience around the quality of your product by blending the hottest gadgets in the world today? Right? So again, I want you to break down some of these videos. I want you to examine, I want to chop them off. Just like he's blending iPhones and things, right? Because that way you can work out what are the bits and how they're working out and why is important. Again, the message, the content, the quality, the video, the audio, and everything else.